I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today I just wanted to talk about the trap of thinking that you have got your alcohol drinking under control. This is a big mistake that many people make. It doesn't happen sort of after a week or 2 weeks, we're too wary for that, but once you've been off the booze for a month, for some people it's a month, for other people it's a couple of months, 6 months down the line, and you get this obvious, or this, and it's not very obvious, but it's, most people do it, it comes up and you get a voice in the back of your head that says, what if you could take one drink? You've managed 6 months, man. You've done 3 months, whatever it is, and you're doing really well, and you've proved that you can control your drinking. What would happen if you took one drink, if you went down to the pub and you had 2 pints, and you start going over it in your head? Memory for taste is very strong. Memory for smells are very strong, and for other things not so bad, but we make up for that by using our imagination. We can put ourselves into the pub and we might remember specifically a really good time that we had down in the pub, and we go, oh, that's what the pub is, good times. We associate that one single good time with having marvelous times all the time, with drinking being a marvelous thing to do. We start to taste the beer or the wine, and these thoughts start to feed on each other. It is a trap, right? There is no such thing as being off the beer, being off the wine, the alcohol for 6 months or 3 months or whatever it is that you're off, and being in control. That is not control. Control is being able to go out and have one glass of wine and never having another glass, and doing that time after time after time whenever you go out, whenever you have a dinner and stuff like that. But it's an illusion, like Alan Carr talks about in his book, aptly named Controlling Your Alcohol Drinking. It's just an illusion of control that we never have control over it, because it's a drug. This is a drug that we're using. It's not possible to control a drug because there are physiological things going on below the surface. There are psychological things going on below the surface that we've got no control over. Tolerance is one of those things that alcohol has. The more you drink, the more you need to drink. You can't drink the same amount every time and still drink the same amount and still get the same feeling. The more you drink that same amount, the less effect that amount has over you. So it's just a big trap. I'm off the beer now 3 years and 8 months, heading into my 9th month. 3 years and 9 months, heading into my 10th month now, as I'm recording this. And I seriously cannot envision myself ever drinking again because of the life that I'm living now, right? Because I've stopped drinking, right? Number one. Number two, I know I don't ever want to go back to that alcohol drinking bullshit that I had back then, right? I don't want to go through the hangovers anymore. Don't want to go through the mistrust that everyone had for me. All the different bad things that I've ever talked about, I know will come streaming back into my life within a very short space of time if I ever start drinking again. Now, I don't know what it would take to ever get me to drink. Say future is an unknown quantity. You don't know what's going to happen, right? It would take something very, very bad, and I don't even want to think about what it would take. You know, I know at the back of my mind probably what it would take, but even then, I don't think it would drive me to drink. You know, once you get into this, and for any length of time, you'll find yourself dealing with things in better ways, right? You whenever you get pressure in your life, when you can't sleep, when you need to relax, when you haven't got the alternative of when you haven't got that escape route now anymore of putting alcohol into your body, you do something differently, you know. And if you're not looking at another drug to do this, then you're going to do it naturally, and you'll learn by those things. You know, if you have a pressure in your life, if something happens in your life and you can't turn to alcohol anymore, then you've got to deal with that pressure and try and alleviate the pressure, as I say, through something natural, by solving the problem, or whatever it is. But you deal with these things without the instant gratification, right? Once you do that, you learn how to do that for yourself. You know, you don't need to go back to drinking. You know, you don't need that hidey hole that drink offers you, that you can just hide in and pull down the shutters. And you start to realize that all the times that you were doing that for yourself never worked anyway. They only caused you more problems, because, you know, as you stopped, you know, you don't do this anymore to yourself, your life will start to improve in so many different ways. And you realize that going back on alcohol is never going to be the answer. So even thinking about it momentarily there's nothing wrong with that, right? But if you entertain the idea, and if you start to allow yourself to go down that road, allow yourself, convincing yourself to go down that road, yeah, it's a big trap. So, you know, just don't do it. I think once you do get over that year, it's and you start thinking along these lines, it's very difficult to go back. I think, you know, like as I said earlier, I just can't imagine what it would take for me to go back on the booze now. You know, the one thing that would, in my mind, sort of make me, that would break my heart enough, right? The one thing that would happen, that could possibly happen, that I would think about, that would send me down that route, I just think that wouldn't either, because it would be, yeah, I don't want to go down there. So look, I'm just saying, because you've not drank for 6 months or a year or 3 months or a month or whatever it is, and you think that you've got the alcohol under control, there is no such thing as keeping alcohol under control, because of the habit that you've learned, right? That's always going to be lurking around in the background. Any habit that you break down, whether it's a sugar habit, whether it's a habit of watching TV or any of those things, right? Alcohol or any other drug, it's always going to be there in the background, you know, lurking away. I'm not saying that to say, well, you know, it's always going to be pressing buttons and stuff like that. It's not like that. But if you go back to what you used to do, to the old behavior, even if you try and do it and moderate that old behavior, the old patterns will resurface very quickly. So it's impossible to control this stuff, you know. The only way to control this stuff is by not entertaining it, by not drinking it. So look, that's it for today. Until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Take care, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, stay safe, onwards and upwards. Good luck.